All right, welcome guys to another video. And today's video, we're going to be talking about something that's actually pretty relevant to me at least, and that is sleep and how it affects your, really when you're not getting enough sleep, how that affects your mood, which I say is relevant to me because I didn't get the best sleep last night. And so, Dad, that's the question really we want to talk about today is that, as we know, when you don't get the best sleep, whether it's you're getting 4 hours sleep or 5 hours sleep, or you have interrupted sleep, maybe because of children or whatever it might be, or maybe you're just, staying up thinking about, some project that you have coming up or whatever it might be, that affects your mood. It affects how you interact with other people and how you kind of feel during the day. And so could you talk about that? Like, why is that and how does sleep affect our moods?
Well, hormones and thousands of chemicals that the brain produces are very important to maintain balance. And part of the balance is to be able to experience the world, okay, and learn from the experience, and also be part of the environment. So, and then when in that experience requires all those chemicals, and then if we don't sleep well, so our circadian it goes off track. So this metabolic clock that we possess in every cell in the entire body, it is the one that is actually aligning, all these chemicals that are being produced during certain times of the day. And if I throw everything because I didn't sleep well, so this system it gets convoluted, and then of course the sequence, the production of hormones and chemicals are affected. So our ability to really experience the world it is through these chemicals. For example, I'm here in front of Laurel. Laurel is my granddaughter, your daughter. So if everything is aligned with me, I see her, and then just to be in front of her, she will stimulate the production of oxytocin, which is a chemical that made me feel connected, and it will stimulate the production of dopamine. So I actually will project to see her. So I'm thinking, I love to see her. So then I plan, that I'm going to probably see her this week sometime. And then serotonin that made me feel like satisfied. I'm happy to be a grandpa. I'm happy to know that she's there. So, but the production of all these chemicals that make me feel good, it will depend on a number of chemical activities that occurs in the body. And if I didn't sleep well, then there's going to be problems because there's going to be toxics that are going to be circulating, or they're going to be inside the cells that haven't been removed because I didn't sleep well. And in sleeping is what it does that. The removing of toxics, all these endotoxins and endotoxins activities, and it will depend on good 8 hour sleep, okay, because through those hours, anything happens, it keeps our body ready for the next week. So that's the reason. And of course, if this is something that start happening daily, eventually we could create some problems, serious problems in this machinery of the body, and potentially we can have not only illness, but if I'm not in a good mood, and this happens to me every day, I start affecting the environment. So my kids may not want to be around me anymore. My spouse, she loves me, but she doesn't know if she wants to really engage. So I'm going to start damaging and create a toxic environment. And of course, between my health issues, because I have this habit of not sleeping enough hours, and also the relationships that are being affected, I increment inflammation, which it makes it very hard for many people to really live a life of happiness, or the contrary, can be suffering.
Okay. And real quick, I forgot to mention, for those who are watching, those who are listening, we do have a third co-host today. This is my daughter, Laurel, my youngest daughter. This is what happens when you work at home. So, okay. So question then. So again, we all know like how we feel when we don't get, very good sleep. But what happens when people try to, I guess, compensate, whether for their mood or just for being tired, with like energy drinks, sugary drinks, coffee, like things like that? Like, does that help your mood, or is it just like, I guess what happens when people just try to compensate with things like that?
Well, coffee is one of the things that's most used. Some people use cigarettes, some people use alcohol. Uh, most people don't do that, but a lot of people drink coffee. That helps to activate certain mechanisms in the body that will put more energy. Okay, but unfortunately, coffee will affect the patterns. So literally, you're taking something that is good for the morning, but it's going to affect you at nighttime when you're going to bed. So this cycle of sleep issues, it will never end. So it is with any other energy drinks. That will affect your metabolic system. That can really affect your nervous system. So that's the dangers of the uses of any of these things that compensate. So you can sleep well. There is other ways to handle this.
So then another question then. So I know, when we don't get good sleep, oftentimes, we have a hard time remembering things. I'm sure it's happened to you. It's happened to me, where, especially after she was born, there were certain things that I just couldn't remember that I was supposed to be doing. And so I guess, why is that? Why does sleep affect our memory so much?
Well, memory, it doesn't happen during the time you are awake. The memory consolidation happens when you're sleeping. So there is two phases of memory. One is the memory of what you learned, and then certain neurons in the brain, they participate in all this process of trying to keep the information. But the real memory happens when you're sleeping. Because when you're sleeping, the brain needs to consolidate, put meaning to the things that you have learned. For example, if I learn about math, okay, and I have more information in regard to other experiences, so now the brain, it will take that information that's been registered in certain neurons, and it will connect it with other circuitries, in order to make it stronger. So, and if I don't sleep enough, and this takes a few hours, this doesn't take half an hour. It's a process, because it's very complex. We have so much information. As a matter of fact, it's been, according to research, it is that there is more information in a single person brain that's not even 20, more than the entire internet information in the entire world, all the data that's out there. So as you can see, if a new information comes today, so now the brain, even though you probably remember, if I ask you, where do you left, the keys? And you say, I left it hanging, okay, by the door. Okay, so that is the initial part of the memory. So, but that memory needs to be consolidated, and that happens when you're sleeping. So, and if you don't sleep well, there is a chance, if this memory is not being consolidated yet, okay, that there is a place where you leave the keys. For example, let's say you change now, you move to another place or change the place where the keys are going to go because your spouse choose to change it. Okay? And you discussed it this morning, you set it up in the wall, and it's right there. And of course, if I ask you where the key is, you'll know, but it's at nighttime. When now your brain has to really restructure the information just to be sure that this new information, it is hooked to the right connectors in the brain, so tomorrow you remember. Okay? And it's with simple things like moving the keys to a different place, or learning a concept, or probably remember what your wife told you about the birthday party that's coming up this weekend. So consolidation memory happens when you're sleeping, and that's where memory takes place. It doesn't happen during the day. What you learn in the experience, it initiates the process of memory, but the permanent memory stays later on. And not sleeping well, bad memory.
So then that actually makes me think of, it's kind of, at least a lot in the United States, I'm assuming it's probably worldwide as well, but I see a lot of students, whether in high school or in college, it's almost like a cultural thing to pull all-nighters, where, you cram for the test, you try to, make sure you're all prepared for the final exam, but then you like don't get much sleep, or even just throughout the semester. I know I had friends in college who they just didn't get a lot of sleep because they were either partying or they were studying, whatever it might be. Isn't that counterproductive to be staying up all night, learning if you're not going necessarily, if you're missing sleep to study, isn't that counterproductive?
It is. It's pretty bad. No, you may be able to pull and retrieve some information, okay, because you learned something 3 months ago about the topic when you're going to do the test. But for the most part, a lot of these things you study through the night is going to be hard for the brain to really reconcile it, synthesize and connect it to faster highways, a narrow connection. So it'll be very hard to really have a good exam, okay, if you have this all-night crash sleeping in. So that's a very difficult thing. So it's not wise, it's cultural. A lot of people think if I study 10 hours a night and I'll remember things, that's a tough call. You probably remember things that you learned a few weeks ago, but not that night itself.
Mm-hmm. So then could you maybe give, and this was kind of a little different direction than I was planning, but could you maybe give like 1 or 2 tips for any college students, any high school students who might be watching, listening to this? Like what could be a better strategy versus just staying up all night studying?
Well, one of the challenge for college students is the fact that the brain is not totally developed. Okay, it takes until when you are like 25. No, when finally all the structure is developed. 25 years old. So for a young man that is 20 years old or 22 or 19, and if you listen to this, the majority of the young people will say, oh, okay, that's a good concept. It's a good idea. But no, I'm super duper, I'm special. It's not me, because I know myself and I know that I got a super brain and I'm going to remember everything. I did it 2 years ago and it worked. And I see my friends do it, So it's hard, to see unless you are conscious, and you don't need to be 25, okay, which is different. The structure of the brain is one thing. The other thing is your level of conscious. So that's when you are projecting your future, okay, and you are more thoughtful. Not necessarily introspective. Okay, because introspective could be also a problem. If I'm asking questions like, why me? Okay, but it could be productive if it is, what can I do to change this? So, but anyway, regardless to that, what I suggest is that if you're a young person, you're listening to this podcast, have physical activity. That's going to really help you to sleep well. Okay, be sure you eat on the same time. Okay, and don't study late. Better go to bed early, wake up early, and study. And of course, you need entertainment. Go to your friends on weekends and have fun. Maybe, that night you might go to sleep late. If it happens, once a week, your body probably can handle. Okay, it's going to be damage, but, there's going to be repairing. But if it happens 2 or 3 times, 4 times a week, that's going to be a problem. And eventually, you're going to be drained and tired. If you have a bad night and you're tired, you might pump some adrenaline and just, think I'm super duper superhero. And maybe the adrenaline makes you feel good, which makes you forget that you feel like a drunk when you wake up a few hours ago. Okay, but it's not because your body is healing. It is because you pump adrenaline because you probably choose to be hyperactive today. No, I'm going to conquer the world today. And then that mental condition will pump adrenaline. It's not a good idea to live this way because eventually you're going to kick some damage into your heart or your blood vessels. 20 years later, you're going to have some serious problems. So be sure that this is not the way you live. No? Wake up, have this all night studying or partying, and then feel like a drunk by 10 in the morning and pump adrenaline so you can feel good. I mean, you don't need to really even drink coffee. All you need to do is just have a hyperactive mind. I got to do this and this and that. Adrenaline comes rushing, but very dangerous for your body. It can create some serious cardiovascular disease.
And, I think this is a topic that we plan to address a little more. I know we need to wrap up, but I think it would be good to do other videos addressing this topic because it's interesting as we're talking now, thinking more about like college students. I'm also like thinking, oh my gosh, I also know plenty of business owners, plenty of people who work, or whether they're business owners or they're just in their career and they work until 1 a.m. or they only get 4 hours sleep. And so I think, unfortunately, it's a culturally, it's just culture that it almost starts in high school and then goes into college and then goes into the workplace where you just don't get a lot of sleep. Not everyone, but that's
the other part. Ulysses, there's a lot of theories with no fundamental. Somebody somewhere in the world write down something, make a video, and it says, "I'm super powerful. I only sleep 4 hours." And then there's a vulnerable mind out there that want to be Superman. And it says, oh, I need that extra time, and then listen to these things. So read some of this material that are now fundamental scientific. And then they start practicing this thing. This is like the other conspiracy theories. And we make these things our belief, we embrace it, and eventually, we get hurt or we hurt somebody else, we hurt our body. 20 years later, we figure out, okay, I'm sleeping 4 hours, and we don't even know that we have embraced an idea that was not scientific. And I have practiced this, and I don't realize that all the health issues are related to, what just happened. So we have to have clarity in our mind in order to really discern out of all this stuff that's my way, what is really real. But if there's a stress, Ulysses, if it's psychological stress, we don't see with clarity. We're like the little piece of paper floating on with the wind. We go whatever the direction takes me. So in no control over my life, which put me into a predicament and suffering and health issues and damaging relationships. Very dangerous, to listen to any of these conspiracies or, stuff that just pop and come my way. No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it would, again, I think we should do a video along those lines. But I think we'll wrap up there. And yeah, guys, I think overall the message today is make sure you're getting good sleep. Obviously it does affect your mood. It's going to affect your memory. If you're in college or any kind of student, like it is much better to do your studies in the morning, get the sleep that you need, or just form a strategy, form a plan that allows you to get the sleep that you need. Because that's really what's going to help you long term.
And by the way, and be flexible because life is going to throw some things your way. So you might have to, not enough, make some adjustments, but stay willing to have a strategy. Go back to your strategy, after when it's something comes your way that needs your attention.